today. This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Monday, May 13th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below so you can watch all of our MLB, NBA, and NFL videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineup. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Yo, what's up, man? I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, another day, another dollar. We were just talking about it. Hey, man, getting close to the takedowns, bro. It's coming soon right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, another pretty good week last week of MLB and NBA. Got a lot of really good things going on right now, and I'm looking to kind of start this week off right.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, real quick before we do jump into this video, as always, if you want a complete more in-depth analysis on today's slate, Jeremy does his deep dive segment. We have a core plays video for your cash games. We have a value video kind of help you identify value on every slate. We got a crush spot regardless of price. Just 5 guys that are absolutely going to have great days. We got a lot of stuff going on right now for MLB. Plus, on the weekends, we have NASCAR, PGA, MMA. So, hey, man, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com, and get your 14-day free trial. Yes, we're giving you 2 weeks absolutely free just to try out the site and make sure it's right for you. You got nothing to lose, man. So check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. And, hey, man, I'm ready to jump into this.
Yeah, let's get it.
Cool. So I'll jump into the bats first, as we usually do, and then we'll round back up with pitchers and kind of get out of here. So the first team that I'm going to start with, bat-wise, I'm really liking on today's slate, have the highest implied total, almost projected to score 5 runs today. You got you got Minnesota going against Tyler Skaggs. Tyler Skaggs is a guy who gives up a 271 WOBA to left-handers, 316 WOBA to right-handers. So you want to target him more with right-handers. And just to throw it out there, Minnesota as a team, they have a 350 WOBA and a 222 team ISO. So, as a team, they're hitting the ball pretty hard, and they've been putting up a lot of runs, especially this past week. They've been on fire. So I really like Minnesota against Tyler Skaggs. A couple of guys that are really standing out to me. If Garver's going to be in that leadoff spot, then I think that you got to consider him. And then, you got to look at their big guns. Jorge Polanco, we talked about we want to target Skaggs or righties. You got to look at Nelson Cruz. I mean, he's the biggest bat in that lineup. Double dunk upside any night. Outside of that, you can look at Eddie Rosario, CJ Cron, give you a little bit of upside, maybe even a little bit of scope. But that's really where I'm at. You got to like Minnesota, and I like both sides, but I think I want to target the righties a little bit more, with Nelson Cruz being like the premier guy that I think that you look at for Minnesota. Moving on, next team we're going to talk about is going to be Seattle Mariners. They're at home. They get a matchup with Mike Fiers. They have the second highest implied total on the slate. About 4.75 runs projected to be scored today. One thing I do want to say about Seattle is this is a smaller slate, and maybe on a bigger slate, a couple of these teams would probably wouldn't be, have the highest implied totals. But since it's a smaller slate, Seattle today matchup with Mike Fiers. Mike Fiers actually hasn't been pitching bad on the year. He's coming off a no-hitter, correct?
He's coming off a no-hitter.
Yeah, coming off a no-hitter, and like I said, even before the no-hitter, we played him a couple of times already earlier in this year. The guy hasn't been pitching bad at all. He does give up a 326 WOBA to left-handers, 347 WOBA to right-handers. But on the flip side, Seattle as a team, they've been swinging really good bats on the year. They have a 341 team WOBA, 228 team ISO, which is very, very high. So they're hitting the ball very, very hard. So I think about Seattle, it's going to come down to, are they going to let Mike Fiers kind of get into a groove, or are they going to kind of keep him off guard early and kind of run him out the game? What do you think about Seattle against Mike Fiers? Because I know he's a guy that you're probably going to be considering in for pitchers also.
No, I'm not.
No?
No.
Okay.
There's no upside. There's no upside in Fiers. He averages 6.65 Ks per 9. He has a 13.2 K percent to lefties and a 21.2 K percent to righties. Pretty much the lowest K percent to lefties on the slate, and one of the lower K percent against righties on the slate. So It's not a guy that I'm going to attack. I will mention this, that over the past week, you've seen Seattle as a team. Their team statistics are starting to take a dip from a hitting standpoint, but there's nothing better than going home and facing a division rival opponent. So, this is a lineup that we'll talk about Fears on the deep dive a little bit and kind of the adjustments he's making in his pitch mix. But Fears is always going to be about his two piece. If he can throw his curveball, and his curveball has good control of the curveball, he's going to be a tough guy to hit. And that's pretty much what happened when he threw the no-hitter. I mean, he threw a lot of pitches. He worked his curveball very well, and he gets a lot of ground balls with it. If he can do that, he's a guy that, on a normal slate, like you said, this may be a spot where we'd look at it and be like, maybe we just avoid this altogether. But given the size of the slate, Fears is a guy that I've used against the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think that's the only time that I've used Fears this year. But the Toronto Blue Jays have been a team that I've kind of streamlined pitching against, and they're them and the Miami Marlins, one of my favorite two teams to use pitchers against. But today, I'm not really looking at Fears.
No, okay, yeah, no, for sure. A couple guys just really standing out for me for Seattle. I mean, Mitch Haniger, one of their best hitters, really like him. Vogelbach has really been showing some power upside. You got to look at Edwin Encarnacion. I just seen a stat on him the other day. I think since he has the most home runs of anybody in the majors since 2010. So whenever he stepped in the box, you know what we're going to get with him. He gives you double dong upside, but he also gives you a lot of strikeout upside, kind of swing and miss type of guy. Either way, I mean, I like him in this spot. Santana is coming over to Seattle. He's actually been showing a little bit of power upside as well, and he's been a good addition to this lineup. So I think that you can look at probably, honestly, 1 through 7. Tim Beckham has really been having a really, really good start to the season. I just don't like the fact he's in the 7 hole. I would like him a lot more if he's in the leadoff spot and D. Gordon was down. So it kind of depends on the lineup, what lineup comes out to kind of really figure out who we're going to target. But I definitely think there's some guys in this Seattle Mariners lineup that we really, really, really want to look at. Just got to kind of see who's in that lineup and kind of go from there.
One thing that I'll mention though about these guys, the Mariners, they're 27th in the last 7 days in hard hit percentage. They're not hitting the ball very hard as a team right now. Their numbers, like I said, this is
out a lot more too. This
is the top 2 offense in baseball for the first 3 weeks of the season. We're at the quarter pole point now, and in the past 7 days, their hard contact rates dropped. Their strikeout percentages increased. Right. Their team ISO has dropped below where it was. So they're not a team that's extremely hot going into this matchup against Mike Fiers. So, I think that there's other spots to be contrarian on the slate with than loading up Seattle, in my opinion. It's kind of an avoid. Like you may have to end up getting some exposure to him because of the size of the slate, but
it's not the sexiest.
No, I mean I look at a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who over the last 7 days have one of the second highest hard hit percentage on the slate, and in baseball. So I know they're going against Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray's a guy who, man, there's a huge difference in his price between FanDuel and DraftKings, but and his numbers are extremely well. But Pittsburgh is kind of a good example of a team trending up, and Seattle a team starting to trend down as they're kind of slumping as a team.
So I actually really like Arizona on the other side of things. Before I do get into Arizona, I'm actually a little bit more curious about kind of what you got to say about Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, Arizona, in my opinion, is a really good team to try to target today as well. I mean, they're gonna have a pitcher who goes out there, and Robbie Ray, who's gonna give them an opportunity to get a win, and they've just got to do their part and put runs on the board. And you look at that matchup going against Nick Kingham. Nick Kingham, not a very impressive pitcher. 5,600 is his price. Coors Field's on the slate. This is not even a guy that I would probably consider taking a matchup against. He does have some good strikeout numbers as far as he's averaging 9.72 Ks per 9 and 29.3 K percent to righties. We do know there's some righties in that lineup, and there's some strikeout upside, as Arizona as a team has a 22.7 K percent. So the problem with him is he has a 346 ISO against him from left-handed bats, only a 108 against righties. So Kingham's a guy that he could keep Pittsburgh in this game for a little bit if he can avoid and navigate his way through the left-handed bats, mainly David Peralta, right? I mean, if he can get through this and not give up the big home run to David Peralta, maybe gives up, say he only gives up a solo shot to him and he can pitch around that. I don't think Kingham is going to go very deep in this game. But that's the Pittsburgh side of things. You start talking about Robbie Ray. I mean, this looks like an elite matchup for Robbie Ray. It looks like an elite matchup for Robbie Ray. But in comparison, when you're talking about Seattle against Pittsburgh, before I would talk about Pittsburgh, I would talk about Philadelphia, because we've said this Philadelphia Phillies lineup from day one is going to be a problem for people. It's so long. They lost Gene Segura out of that lineup for just a little bit. But they're going against Freddie Peralta. The guy has one quality start this year, a ton of strikeout upside, but gives up a 217 WOBA to lefties. Excuse me. And a 242. I'm sorry, you got me talking about WOBA. I don't even like this stat. 217 ISO against lefties and a 242 ISO against righties. So they've got some big bats in this lineup. This is a team that's also trending in the opposite direction of Seattle, the Philadelphia Phillies. We'd have to look at weather and see if there's this is a small ballpark. It's a good hitter's ballpark. If the weather is giving a bump to the bats, the Philadelphia Phillies is a team that I would like a whole hell of a lot more than I like the Seattle Mariners. Just a long lineup. They've got big right-handed power bats in Real Muto. They got Reese in that. They got, McCutcheon can hit the ball out. Segura can hit for power. We've seen Cesar Hernandez have a good weekend in Kansas City. You got Odubel Herrera in that lineup from the other side of the plate with Bryce Harper. I mean, the Phillies are a team in this matchup that I like a whole hell of a lot more. I even like the Brewers maybe a little bit more than I like Seattle as well, because the Brewers as a team, we know what kind of power is in that lineup. We know Christian Yelich has been out of that lineup for a little bit, and he's back in that lineup. We've seen Aguilar go through a slump, and now Aguilar back, a guy who's at a very good price tag, can hit for power. And Aaron Nola, like you always say, you hate using Aaron Nola because it seems like he always has that one inning. And Aaron Nola, he's giving up a 242 ISO to left-handed bats. Right. I mean, you've got some big left-handed bats in that lineup. You've got Moustakas, you've got possibly Eric Thames, depending on Ryan Braun's hamstring. If he'll be in the lineup today, you've got Travis Shaw, who can hit for power, and we know what Christian Yelich can do. So, I'm interested in those teams probably, and I don't know where they fall because I don't really look at implied run totals until I'm all done with everything I do. I don't know where the Brewers fall or where the Phillies fall in course of implied run totals, but those are two teams that I probably like a whole hell of a lot more than I like the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, for sure. Just to round off, there's a couple more teams that are standing out to me. You kind of touched on Arizona, so I'm not really going to go backwards on them. I do really like Arizona a lot, though. They're one of my favorite teams on the slate. Really, really good hitters park. We always talk about Arizona being a top 3 or 4 hitters park in the league, so you really got to like them.
I will say one thing about Arizona too, and look, they just played a home series against the Braves. And they played a road series against the Tampa Bay Rays, and they ran into some good pitching in that series. I believe they opened that series against Blake Snell, and they also saw Charlie Morton, which that was their most successful game of the series, was against Charlie Morton. But my point is their team ISO has dropped from above 220 to I think below 200. I think that they're at 198 right now or 187. They are at a – let's see, where is Arizona as a team? The 195. So they've trended down, and they had a series at home against Julio Teheran and Kevin Gausman, who Gausman got blown up by the Dodgers. We know how good the Dodgers are, but I just think that the Arizona Diamondbacks are a fishy team today. They're a pesky team. I've liked them all year long, but Arizona's a team and Seattle's a team today that the implied run total for them, if it's what you're telling me it is, I'm a little fishy of it based off of
Just real quick right now, I mean, Seattle has the second highest and Arizona currently has the third highest. So
it's a little bit fishy to me, to be honest with you. And I know Nick Kingham, people are going to look at Nick Kingham and they're going to say, see the price tag of $5,600 on FanDuel and $6,500 on DK. I think he's the cheapest. He is the cheapest pitcher on each site. And typically speaking, when you have a cheap pitcher, it's a kind of in a high implied run total. It's kind of a streamlined situation. But you got the left-handed bats in Arizona's lineup potentially are basically Jared Dyson and David Peralta. I mean, that's kind of, you can navigate through that. There's some strikeouts to be had with, Wilmer Flores, and they've got some guys they can get that can strike out. So it's a fit. That's a fish. It's a fishy one to me. It just is.
Yeah, so you're saying Arizona, you go one off with David Peralta and maybe just kind of move on.
I at this point in time in the day, it's still 10 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
here. I'm not sure yet. It's just the implied run total is fishy to me.
Right, I get what you're saying. Two more teams that I'm actually liking. I like Cleveland. Cleveland is a team that, I'm just going to give you Cleveland's numbers right now. They're not very good. As a team, ISO-wise, 284, WOBA-wise, 134. Like, their numbers are very, very down. But we've been talking about it, the past couple of weeks. Is they've been hurt all year long. Cleveland has been a team that's just been completely injury-riddled. They're a team that's
they have a 125 team ISO.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Yeah, so yeah, it's low. That's what it comes down to. But hey, man, they're starting to get their horses back. They got some guys that come on. You got a core of Lindor, Jose Ramirez, Cargo, Carlos Santana, and Kipnis. Even just those five guys alone, those are five really, really good hitters. They're starting to get, like I said, they're starting to get healthy again. I like Cleveland today. I think Cleveland's a team. They can have a pretty good day going against Ronaldo Lopez for the White Sox. Gives up a 332 WOBA to left-handers, 339 WOBA to right-handers. And I just think that this Cleveland team is way too talented to kind of be performing the way they've been performing. I think today's a day that could definitely kind of get right. I like this spot for them. I'm just going to target the same guys that I just brought up. It's the five guys, the Lindor, Ramirez, Gonzalez, Santana, Kipnis. I really like Kipnis especially. The guy's just cheap. He's cheap. And Kipnis last year, he kind of started, really, really slow. He was cheap in FanDuel, and the price was down, and then he hit it. And then he had a really, really good stretch to kind of end the season. His buy low opportunity, I like him. I think he's a good play. And I really think that all these guys are pretty fair price based on, what they've been doing. But, you can't look at what they've been doing to start this season. You got to kind of look at their career numbers, last year, the year before. And these guys all have really, really good, sample size for their career of being great hitters. So I do like Cleveland. And the final team I want to talk about, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. I need your help with this as well. We were just talking about it with Houston. Houston is more of they're the kind of the GPP flyer team just because they got a matchup today against Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd's he's a really good pitcher. He's been pitching very, very well in the season. He only gives up a 265 WOBA to left-handers, 295 WOBA to right-handers. But then on the flip side, you got Houston really starting to kind of pick it up, hit their stride. They have a 361 team WOBA. And then I know I have – what did you say that their ISO went up like a lot this past weekend? Didn't you say that?
They were below 200.
And what do you have them at now, 220?
I believe they're at 222.
Yeah, so like I said, starting to hit their stride. And, one thing that me and Jeremy are really talking about is Detroit. Their bullpen is absolutely taxing. They've been having to use their bullpen so much today. We feel that today's a day where Matt Boyd is, even if he gets blown up. I'm not saying Matt Boyd's going to get blown up. I've just been talking about, how good he's been pitching. But even if he does get blown up, today's a day they're going to need 100 to 110 pitches out of him just because their bullpen is so taxed. And even if he does pitch good, say he pitches good through 5 innings, but then they go to the bullpen. The bullpen is so wore out. I think Houston could put 5 or 6 runs up just against the bullpen. Can you give us a little bit more in depth on the bullpen going on with Detroit right now, the situation?
Their bullpen has pitched a ton of innings going back to Thursday's game, which was a 13-0 loss to the Angels, and then Friday's game, I believe, was a 6-0 loss to Minnesota. And then they played a doubleheader Saturday, and then they got kicked in yesterday. And you have to look at a couple of different factors. So they really, really tried to get a lot out of their starting pitching. They let Tyson Ross go Friday way too long. They let the best pitching performance they got from a starter was on Saturday, and now their starter, I can't think of his name now. What's his name? Their good right-handed thrower they have, their starter. Why can't I think of his name?
Detroit.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of his name right now.
Turnbull, right? Spencer Turnbull.
Yeah.
So Turnbull threw it. They let him throw 111 pitches in that game, and we talk about it all the time.
He's a young guy, right? The rookie.
He's a young guy. They don't let 100 pitches is like got to get him out, right? So they let him go 5 innings. He went 5+ innings, and he threw 111 pitches. They tried everything they could to keep him in that game because their bullpen's very tired. Their bullpen's pitched just about 4 innings plus in every game since Thursday, plus a doubleheader. The second half of the doubleheader on Saturday night, they started a guy from Double-A, and then they got into the bullpen again. So yesterday they got into the bullpen. Their bullpen is very tired, and now their ace is going to take the hill. They call this their stopper, the guy they need to get them back into the win column, a guy that they need to stop this losing streak. I think no matter what, you're going to see they're going to go in with a plan today saying that Matt Boyd is going to throw 100 pitches no matter what. Like, we need him to give us 100 pitches. If that's a complete game, great. If it's 8 innings, great. Houston, on the other side, Houston knows their advanced scouting department is going to know that this bullpen has a 5.59 ERA and they have a 276 batting average against. And if we can go in there and we can work counts against Matt Boyd, not go up there swinging at the first pitch, go up there trying to work a count, look for something in the strike. And that's kind of the approach the Houston Astros have as a team anyways. Houston looks to swing at strikes. That's what they look to swing at. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's, they don't chase balls out of the zone. They swing at strikes in the zone. They're going to work counts. That's going to be their plan. And they're going to try to get Matt Boyd to throw a ton of pitches and get him out of there in 5 innings. If they can do that, they'll have a really good chance to put up a big crooked number today. If Matt Boyd can get them to swing at his pitch, that's going to be the matchup today. That's going to be the chess game. Matt Boyd has really good numbers. He averages 11.26 Ks per 9. He's got 33.3 K percent to lefties, a 30.9% to righties. And he only allows a 0.29 ISO to lefties and a 121 ISO to righties. So he's a really tough pitcher. On the flip side of that, this is the old equation that you take the football narrative. The number 1 ranked offense goes against the number 1 ranked defense. Something has to give. You got a left-handed pitcher who doesn't really care which side of the plate he's facing. He dominates both, going against a team that is on fire right now and just lit up the gas can. Drew Smiley on Saturday, so who's a lefty. So I think that this is a game that is definitely a GPP pick. If you're picking Houston, you're probably hoping that Matt Boyd has an off day. They get into the bullpen early and they put up a bunch of runs. If you are taking Matt Boyd in this one, you're hoping that he shuts down a team that's probably will be somewhat popular.
Yeah, for sure. Just quick couple guys really standing out for me on Houston. You got to look at their obvious lefty mashers, Springer, Bregman, Correa, even Gurriel. Gurriel hits lefties very, very well. With Altuve out, I think that if Diaz, we have him projected to be number 2 in the order. If he's going to be number 2 in that order at 2,400, I think that he's a really good play. He's played regular the past few days since Altuve's got hurt. The guy's actually been playing pretty well. He's got some hits, showing a little bit of power upside. I like the opportunity if he's going to be 2,400 going against a lefty bat at the top of that order. I think he's a really good play. Outside of that, I mean, you can look at a guy like Brantley. He's going to be in the cleanup spot. Possibly he's going to have some RBI opportunities. I just don't like the lefty matchup going against Boyd. Definitely think that he is going to play though. For me, I'm gonna look at 1 through 6 of Houston as GPP plays and kind of move on a contrarian stack.
Josh Reddick has a 222 ISO against left-handed pitching, and Brantley has one of the lower ones on the team at 189. 200 is the benchmark, so he's not a bad play still.
Yeah,
I
actually was looking for Reddick, but we didn't have him projected in the starting lineup today. That's why I was like, ugh.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that lineup shakes out.
So it's early. We got to kind of wait out how lineups shake out, and we can kind of make more educated decisions. Perfect reason why you got to go check out the deep dive a little bit later on. But who's standing? Is there a couple pitchers that you're kind of looking at after kind of jumping into this?
I mean, look, you get into this thing and you see the top 3 guys are Berrios, Boyd, and Bieber. I think that a guy that on FanDuel has a really good price is Robbie Ray at 8.8. I mean, he's got the highest K per nine on the slate. He strikes out lefties at a 32.4% clip. They're going to have Melky Cabrera, Colin Moran, Adam Frazier, Polanco, who are lefties in that lineup. We'll have to see how their lineup shakes out. But, I do like Pittsburgh as a very contrarian GPP play at the moment, but I like Robbie Ray a ton at 8.8. I think there's a really good price on FanDuel. DK, he comes out as the highest priced pitcher. A little bit different situation. I think on DK, Matthew Boyd is a guy that is in the same exact spot pretty much as Robbie Ray. The only difference being here is the caliber of lineup that Matthew Boyd is going to go against as opposed to Robbie Ray. Brad Peacock, a guy that grades out extremely high. Houston is going to score. They're going to score runs on a nightly basis, and I think that the worst case scenario here for Houston is they put up a couple of runs. Matthew Boyd gets a quality start. And Detroit's bats are not very good. You look at them from a team standpoint. They strike out 25.3% of the time. It's one of the higher on the slate. So, I think that Peacock's in a good spot in that mid range. There's not really a guy other than Kikuchi and for Seattle. And this guy, look, there's going to be some drama around this guy tonight. That's for sure, because I don't know how well or how well other people have paid attention to this, but the Yankees filed a complaint against him when he went out and no-hit them through 7 innings in his last outing. He had some type of a dark substance under the bill of his cap.
Who is it? I'm sorry, I missed this story.
Kikuchi for the Mariners.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I missed this story. That's crazy.
Yeah, so he went out and put up a very solid start. He no-hit the Yankees through 7 innings, I believe. And they reported him to Major League Baseball and said that there was a dark substance that was caught on camera under his hat, under the bill of his hat. So, maybe he was putting some pine tar on the baseball, which you're allowed to do. You are allowed to use a little bit of pine tar, but you're not allowed to gob it on. So there'll be a little bit of controversy, I guess, some eyes on him tonight to see if he can kind of repeat. But the guy has been a decent pitcher. You look at quality starts, and that's kind of the first. If you're looking at a pitcher, there's certain things you're looking for that we need points for. So we need strikeouts, right? Those are a big scoring category is strikeouts. We need the quality start, especially on FanDuel, and we need the win, right? So the strikeout upside for him, he strikes out he has a 29.7 K percent to lefties. Against the A, and only a 17.4 to righties. But what I do like is that the guy has 5 quality starts already this season. So he's shown the ability to go into the 6th inning and get through the 6th inning with limiting damage against him. The quality start to qualify for that is 3 runs or less and 6 innings pitched. So 5 times he's gone out and thrown a quality start out there. The A's are not a team that's on fire, that's for sure. And so he's a guy that I think has some upside. And if the Mariners, like you say, are one of the higher implied totals on the board today, there's an opportunity for him to also get the win and check all 3 boxes, which would be some strikeouts, the quality start, and a win. Tyler Skaggs is a guy I am not looking at. Reynaldo Lopez is. And for all the reasons you mentioned, I understand there's a couple of things that you can look at for Reynaldo Lopez, which is the ISO he gives up. And he does give up a 225 ISO to lefties and a 226 ISO to righties, the 2 worst pretty much on the slate outside of Freddie Peralta, his 242 ISO to righties. So the difference here is, like you mentioned, the ISO for Cleveland is 125. They strike out at a 25.5% clip. There's some upside, definitely some strikeout upside for Reynaldo Lopez, and he has thrown 4 quality starts out on the table. He is 2-4 though, but he also averages 9.9 Ks per 9. So he has strikeout upside against a lineup that provides strikeout upside, a low ISO. It's still cold in Chicago. I think that he definitely provides some upside, and that's kind of where I'm looking at pitching, and we'll dive deeper into that later on today.
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, you want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate? You want, anything to do with baseball? Hey, we basically got it for you. Make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Hey, get your 14-day free trial. Nothing to lose at all. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, and peace out.